Welcome back. In this lesson, we will talk about the walk function and how this function work. First, this function is used to give you the path of all files in folder. For example, you have this folder. Inside this folder, there is another folder and some files. And inside this folder, there is another folder and files. And inside this folder, there is another files. With using the walk function, you give the function this path, and the function go through this path and give you the path of all these files, and the path of all the files here, and the path of all the files here. It walk inside the directory, you give it, and give you the path of all the end files inside this directory. Let's see how it works. First, you should import the module that have this function, which is OS module. And you create a function which we will name it list files. Okay. Inside this function, create a loop. First, you give this function the main directory, the main path. And for loop is 3 variable, like this. In os.walk, read the main path, you send it to the function. When the function loop through this path, it stored the main path you give to the function in variable d, and it store the folder, the end folder that have the file in sp, and store the file name in if variable. For example, we give the function this directory. Through the function, store this directory, which is the main directory, in variable d, and store the end folder, which is this, the folder before the file, which is this. Store it in sp, and store the name of file in the variable if. So you have a 3 variable. D store the main, and sp store the header folder of the file, and f stores the file name. Okay. You will loop also through a variable, we will call it file name. This variable, because f is a list, this list contains all the files inside the folder. We here have 2 files. This file's name put inside a list, so we should loop through this list to give or to get each element in this list, like this. What we want to do is we want to join or combine the path D with F, the main directory of the file with the file name, so we get the whole path of the file. So we type os.path.join and type D, which is the main directory. We give it to the function, and here is the file name. When you combine those, you get the whole path of the file. So we will start in full path. To see the result, we will print full path. To execute the function, we will call this function and pass the path of the function here. Let's take this path, the main path of the folder, and put it inside the function. But you will notice that this slash is left side. You should reverse it to right side, so you type here R character. Let's execute, see the result. You will here notice that all the paths inside this main directory is printed here. First, this is the path of this file, which is Fernet. Let's small this window and see. Here is the path of the Fernet txt. Then the path of important. Let's see the whole path. Yes, this is the whole path. And here is the path of install by corruptedom. And the function then walk inside the folder. After it enters the file, walk inside the folder and print you a path of all the files inside the folder arranged. First encryption partition, then encryption, then encrypt until you reach strip extension. Where is strip extension? Here is strip extension. After walk function, type the full path of all files. It get inside also the folder and printed you the path of the folder. Here you will notice the path of encrypted whole folder by path. Here is this path. If you take this path and go inside here and type this path, you will notice that the file open. So walk function is used to get you the whole paths inside a specific directory. You give it the main directory, it gives you all the paths of the files inside this directory. Okay. We notice here that all these paths is stored in full path. So we wanna to put all these paths in a list. We create a list LST called LST and make it empty at the beginning, and here instead of printing the paths, we store it in this list. So we type list dot append the full path here. After this, we print the list. To see the result, you will notice that all paths stored here in the list. So you can get or reach to all these paths by for loop. And you will need this function because when you encrypt a partition, you pass to the walk function the C partition or D partition or any partition name, and it gives you all the directory of the files inside this partition. Okay. By this, we have reached to the end of the lesson.